Welcome to Salon Talks. I am Mary Elizabeth Williams, and this gentleman next to me is Steven Wright. He is an Academy Award-winning, Emmy-nominated, Grammy-nominated comedian, actor, producer, and now also a novelist. Rolling Stone has called you one of the 50 greatest stand-up comics of all time. Wow. Not too shabby, right? Pretty good. And now you have a new book out. It's out in paperback now. It came out a year ago. It is absolutely unlike anything else you will ever read. It's called Harold. The New York Times called it odd and wonderful. I think Bill Burr calls it weird and wonderful. It's called Harold. Welcome, Steven. Hi.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, yeah, a lot of the reviews of this book are, it's odd and wonderful. It's weird and wonderful. How would you describe, what was your elevator pitch for this book? How would you describe it?
My elevator pitch?
Yeah.
What's that?
What's your, if you were to describe it in 4 words, what would those 4 words be, Steven?
I would say surrealism and innocence.
You did it in 2.
3.
Well, we can put a comment.
An extra word I can use later.
Okay. So tell me who Harold is. Tell me about this unique, special boy.
You know, I just write anything that comes into my head. I drink coffee and then my mind goes crazy. And then just one day I wrote, Harold was in 3rd grade. Harold, for no reason. Things come into my mind and I just write them down. And then I started going longer and then I didn't do it for a while. And then I went a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And I thought, maybe this can be some kind of a story. Not thinking I'm going to write a book. Then it just kept going. I would work on it, not work on it. Then it got to a length where I thought, I'm going to see how long this can go. Still not thinking it was a... And then it just kept going. And I started to be taken into this world I was creating. I liked the world I was creating, and I liked to go visit it every day. It was like reading a book, except you read a book, you go into that world. It was like that, except I was making the world up. And in my history of stand-up, if I think of a joke, it's because I saw a sign or heard a word, or I was reading a book and a word. I love words. Words will just jazz me, like a word that has a odd sound and a meaning, like electrolysis. Like I have a whole joke because I saw the word electrolysis written down. But the jokes float. I don't sit down to write jokes. I just go through the world, and there's just stuff. Like, because from the minute you wake up to when you go to sleep, there's thousands of pieces of information go past you. It's like the world is like a mosaic painting, and some of these squares can be connected that weren't connected before. They can be connected by the word, or it has 2 different meanings. So this was different because I started to daily, on purpose, sit down to try to see what else could happen with him.
And you didn't start it out in a notebook or on a document. You started this began its life in a kind of unique place.
Yes, on my phone. I wrote the whole book on my phone.
And not just on your phone, but on the platform formerly known as Twitter, right?
Oh, that was the very beginning. That was before, yes, that was why I even wrote anything. Because I was on Twitter and I thought, 30 years ago I wrote a story for Rolling Stone called The Beach. It was a fairy tale about how the beach was invented. And every few years I would read it and I would think, I should write something else, but I never would. And then I got the Twitter thing and then I read The Beach again and I thought, rather than jokes on Twitter, let me try to write a story. So insert what I just told you about a little bit, right there. Because to me, a joke is an alive thing that should be experienced with people in a group, said by a person. To read a joke didn't interest me. I mean, I know people do that, that's fine, but for me, it doesn't go like that. So I was writing on Twitter, and then I just stopped, and then like a year later, I thought, I'm not going to write it on Twitter anymore. I'm going to see how long I can go. And then I would focus. My routine is I drink some coffee, then I exercise, bicycle, then I go somewhere with more coffee, and my mind goes crazy. So I have a window, an hour and a half, where my imagination is heightened. And then that's when I would try to write this. So it was different than the stand-up just floating into my head. And I thought of things that I would have never thought of if I hadn't tried to sit like that. I was never disciplined before. The other stuff just came into my head. But I found things in my mind that I never would have had, and I not sat down like that. And I did write it on my phone. I started it on my phone, and then in the notes section, then I went to micro, Word, whatever it is, and then I would send, because I couldn't write in a room. You've written 2 books, right? Mm-hmm. How did you like writing your books?
You know, it's what they say about writing. You just sit down and open a vein. It's easy. That's what it's like. But I can't imagine writing fiction and writing, honestly, Stephen, one of my favorite genres is books that are from the perspective of a child.
Really?
Or a teenager. It's truly like among my favorites. And this book has been compared to Catcher in the Rye, Owen Meany, Calvin and Hobbes. For you, a man in his 60s, to take on the worldview of this 8-year-old child. What was it about Harold that brought you to that place where this was a story you wanted to tell, and he's the vessel for this story, this perspective, this moment in time, and in American history too?
Well, I've always said that the stand-up is like seeing the world like the child, like everything is new to a child, everything you don't understand, why is that way? And I would see the world as a child in any way, but I can use the words as an adult, assemble my comments as an adult, but it's a childlike thing just to notice the world. So when I said Harold was in 3rd grade for no reason. So then now it kept going. Now I'm going to try to write a book. But I didn't have to adjust. How would a 7-year-old think? I didn't have to do that because I automatically think like that. So there was no adjustment. So in the jokes I tell are very, couple sentences. It's about it's a very narrow window of creativity, I think. I'm not complaining, I'm just describing it. It's like it has to have a few sentences said that hopefully makes a group of people laugh out loud is a very narrow window. But I have stuff in my mind besides what would go through that window. There's a lot of, when I started doing this, I realized what I could do is like I'm gonna put a funnel on Harold's head, and I'm going to pour into his head what I think about life that aren't in joke form, and I could get all this, history and evolution and the universe and everything. I'll just pour right into his head. But so I didn't have to adjust what would a 7-year-old think. It's automatic.
But it's different. I will tell you, as someone who's followed you for decades, Stephen, yes, that there is a poignancy to seeing those observations, reading them in a book, and reading them from the voice of a child, then hearing them on a stage, yes, with a guy with a microphone, even though it might be the same observation about the world, about what's on the other side of a blackboard, right? That feels different coming from the voice of a child. You, throughout your career, have been very clear that you don't like to tell personal stories. You don't like to talk about your family. You try to avoid those kinds of topics, which we'll get into. But reading this, it makes me think, is this a way into a different side of yourself and telling a more personal story, Stephen? Because it feels like this is a more intimate.
Yes, it is. there's a lot of sensitivity in there. Where he's going through school and how he feels about the girl in the class or in the planet. He's confused. Yes. I never thought of that, but it is more emotion than the stand-up. It just happened. I mean, I was in Wildwood School, and some of the things, the people, I used their names, and some of the things really happened, but very rarely. And like the grandfather I made, that's a big part of the relationship with him and his grandfather, but that's all made up. But the house on Moosehead Lake is a real place that I went to when I was 8, 9, 10, 11. The neighbors own this house on Moosehead Lake. But you're right, his relationship with the grandfather, there's a lot of stuff. I don't know why I don't do that on stage. I'm just trying to make them laugh. It's like I don't I don't focus on emotion. So this was way more going into what I really think about all things.
Yeah, and it's funny, but it's also sad. It's lonely, it's emotional. There's a lot about it that hits in a different way. The book has been out now for a year. You have a built-in audience. You have people who read you and follow you, and I'm sure picked up this book because they like your comedy. And I'm curious what the response has been from readers to this very unique work from you.
A lot of people liked it, and they said it has this, even though everything is so different, because it was the same sensibility of the stand-up, but it was more than the stand-up as far as people interacting in their feelings, their inner feelings about many things. I mean, it covers everything, almost. The universe, babies, death.
Alcoholism.
Oh, who's that, in the mother?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the mother is nuts.
as many of our moms are, Steven. Reading this, it's hard for me, and I know you did the audiobook for it, it's hard for me to switch between thinking of this as in the voice of a child, but also thinking of it in this voice that we know. You have a very famous presentation. The way that you talk, you do a lot of voice work, you are known for your voice, yes. You are known for your delivery. There is one word in particular that is almost always ascribed to you. When you Google you, it's the first word that comes up. The word is deadpan.
Oh, yes.
Steven, how do you, like, I want to, where you're like, please, yes. Please don't let it be something that I'm going to get in trouble. Yeah, please don't let it be like criminal record, arrest. So I want to, like, what does that word mean to you? What does it mean to you to be, quote unquote, deadpan?
It doesn't mean, I mean, I agree. I was doing comedy in Boston for a year until there was a newspaper called The Phoenix, an independent paper, and then someone wrote a review. They saw me, and they said, monotone, deadpan, and I went, oh. I never connected that word. No one ever said that word about me. But I agreed, but I was like, okay, but I don't really think about it. It's just how I talk.
But you have said that some of that was exaggerated, particularly early in your career because you had stage fright. The idea that, like, you wanted to do this so badly, get up in front of people, and yet were afraid. All of us have things that we're afraid to do and don't say, I'm going to make that my career. I want to know what kept you going through particularly those early years when it was the scariest.
Because I started watching The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson when I was like 14, 15 years old, and I became addicted to it. And I had never seen stand-up comedians before. So a guy comes out, he talks about life in this hilarious way, and then he sits down and talks to Johnny Carson. You know, Richard Pryor, David Brenner, Robert Klein, George Carlin, of course, one of my heroes. And I thought, wow, look at this. that's something I would really like to do. I think I would like to do that after watching it for a couple of years. But I knew it would be like a kid wanting to be an astronaut or a baseball player. I knew maybe it wouldn't happen, probably wouldn't have happened. But when I heard about the comedy club in Boston when I was 23, I thought, well, there's one here now. I don't have to move to New York or Los Angeles. I could try it out here. And so I went on, saw a show, and then I went to the open mic 2 weeks later. To answer your question, public speaking is one of the main fear of people. It's like over death. And I was like that. I was horrified. But I wanted to try it so bad that I forced myself to do it because I wanted to try it. And I already talk like this. I already talk like this. So then I'm on there and I'm afraid. So it's even more like this, and I'm trying to say the joke the right way. I'm thinking, what is the next joke? I have no emotion at all, but I'm not doing that for a reason other than I'm horrified, and I'm trying to remember it. But just by luck, it went well with this abstract jokes that I'm saying. So it connected by accident to this particular way of doing it.
And you talk about Carson, you had before people went viral, you went viral. Your first appearance on Carson changed your life in a way that I don't know if that can happen for a comic now. Talk to me about what that moment was like in 1982.
Well,
and what changed for you after
everything changed. I had been doing comedy 3 years, and Peter Lasalli from The Tonight Show came to Massachusetts to look at colleges for his kids, and he saw me in this half Chinese restaurant, half comedy club, the Ding Ho Comedy Club, and he knew of it because someone wrote an article about it, and it was in the LA Times. So when he came to Massachusetts, he remembered the article, and he saw me in there, and then 3 weeks later, it's a miracle. It's like a fairy tale. I have a lot of accidental things in my career that just flukily lined up, and that's the biggest one. Peter Lasalli saw me, and he put me on, and then I went on, and now I'm 26, and I started watching it when I was 16. So here I am with my hero on the show at the set, Johnny Carson. It was surrealism to me. I was so nervous that I wasn't nervous, and I kind of got numb, like when they show something that's underwater and you don't hear the sound. Like everything changed, my career, my whole life, from that one night. So Johnny Carson changed my life twice, because the first time was from me watching the show, thinking, look at him, look at how funny he is, look at all these comedians, I would like to be that. So to get that in my head was one thing, change, as a goal, a fantasy, and then I'm really on the show, and then everything changes. So that was twice. I'm very lucky, very lucky person, because I don't try to, it's not like let me try to think an odd way. This is just how I think. This is the tone of my voice. I'm very fortunate, and I appreciate it.
I want to ask you one more thing. Because of that, and because you don't really do topical, you don't really do political, you don't really do personal. And the thing about that is, Steven, there are jokes of yours or lines of yours that I feel like 40 years later, you probably could get up on a stage and do tonight. There are jokes in this book that feel like they could have been written in any time, because they're in the voice of someone who was in the mid-60s, and yet they feel as fresh today. Is there a line that you feel like that's the one I'll be remembered for? That's the one that's going to be in my obituary? Not that you're ever going to die, but like...
What is this?
I want you to think about your death now, Steven. Tell me. I want you to get really dark.
All the interviews in my whole life, no one's ever said that. And here's this woman, a very nice woman. I don't know, maybe it's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. maybe.
That's the one I think about every time someone says it's a small world, Steven.
Yeah, that one, like, that's maybe like the most known one. But the thing about saying they could be written at any time, one of the things I did to myself, out of conservation, out of like, I didn't want a joke. Here's time. Here's time. Do you see?
Got it.
So I didn't want a joke attached to time. If time was like a clothesline, I didn't want it to be. I wanted to do it for as long as ever. I didn't want to think about whatever, something current, like a TV show or a current famous person or a current fad or something. Because then I could just keep doing it. I didn't want a joke to, now I can't do that anymore. The speed of light is never going to go out of style. Like gravity, lint, signs, time itself is not going to go out of style. So it was almost out of, I don't know if it's laziness, but just, I can do it. That's why. I could do it now.
I could do lint jokes till the day I die.
Lint in the universe. Starts Friday.
Maybe that's the next one. One more question. What's next? Are you writing another book?
I don't know. I would like to sometime, but I didn't think about gonna write a book about a little kid. It just started happening. So I want something else to happen without thinking, what. But I write stuff every day, mostly now jokes, but every day I drink coffee and write stuff down. But someday I would like to write another one. I just don't know what it would be.
Somewhere on the clothesline. Maybe there's another. Maybe there's a
Oh yeah, yes, that's a good one.
We'll call back. A little comedy trick. You might want to
Absolutely.
tuck that one away. Steven, thank you so much. The book, once again, is called Harold. It is out in paperback, so more of us can read it now and enjoy
Excellent.
it. Thank you. Congratulations on this really beautiful,
very much.
really special book,
Very
Steven. It's a pleasure.
Talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Salon Talks. Be sure to subscribe as we feature some of your favorite artists, authors, and more. And while you're here, you might as well watch another video by clicking right here.